Sarah Lewis. I am based out of the West Coast in Washington State, and I am a religious educator and a spiritual director.
Hey, and I'm Linnea Nelson, and I'm on the East Coast in Florida, and I'm also a religious educator and a spiritual director. And we thought we would tell you a little bit about what we think spiritual direction is. So, Sarah, what is spiritual direction to you?
So, spiritual direction is companionship on a spiritual journey. It's skillful and loving listening. It's a space that holds pastoral care elements and spiritual growth elements, but it's not directive. So I think our name is a little bit of a stumbling block for us. But Linnea, what does it mean to you?
Well, I agree with that name part, and I usually tell directees that really they're the spiritual director and I'm the companion and I'm the one listening to what they have to say. And I think what people bring to spiritual direction is what's really meaningful to them. And so that can be such a
Mhm.
range of things. It's like, what are you carrying in your heart? What are you wondering about? What has you just looking at the world with awe or beauty, or what seems missing? What are you yearning for? It can be anything that you bring to a spiritual director, and I find that my role is to hold that sacred container that really just allows you to bring forward whatever is present for you, knowing that there's someone who's going to listen to you carefully and seriously, and also to ask the question that might help you just kind of contemplate it in maybe a new way, and maybe have a way forward on your spiritual journey.
With a spiritual director is a witness and a companion. Even just having that appointment on your calendar is also a reminder to yourself to take that time to reflect, to go deeper with my own journey.
Mm. I love that description of kind of self-care. It's another way that we can provide self-care. I also think that sometimes we recognize that we have some armor around us, or we're
Mhm.
leading with our ego or our intellect, and we have this yearning to lead from the heart and to make soul connections, but sometimes things are getting in the way. And when we can lay down some of our burdens in a spiritual direction session, it feels like we're sharing that. And sometimes it's things that we don't feel either we can speak to someone else, or something that just doesn't come up in regular conversation. And yet it's pulling at us. It's pulling at our spirits. People are just busy, and we are so immersed in the daily news that it is a lot to carry. And
Mhm.
it tears at our soul to know that our climate is on fire, and that the world is on fire with all the wars and violence and just disregard for humans all over the world. Makes it so that having a place where we can process some of that pain by bringing it to a spiritual director who isn't going to solve your pain, but may hold it with you.
Going to spiritual direction is a little bit like going to church. It's creating a space for those deeper engagements with.
I see a spiritual director as someone you bring everything to. And then it is my role as a spiritual director to ask you the questions that get at the essence of what's going on here, what's meaningful to you, and what is that connection? And do you want to develop that connection with the mystery? And I think having a place to talk about that, maybe especially as Unitarian Universalists, where sometimes we have these deep inner feelings that we're not quite sure what to do with. And so bringing them to spiritual direction can be very fruitful.
It may be that a session is about my ongoing journey of self-discovery and being at one with the universe, or it may be that a session is about this horrible climate change documentary I just saw and how I just need to weep about it. And both are okay.
I want to tell you about the Unitarian Universalist Spiritual Directors Network. Both Sarah and I are members, and I'm spiritual directors who are totally dedicated to companioning Unitarian Universalists. And you can go on the website and find people either in your geographic area or perhaps people with certain specialties. Or somebody you've met before, and you're like, oh, didn't know they were a spiritual director, as you're trying to find someone who can companion you.
Spiritual direction remains a well-kept secret, and it's such a beautiful thing. We don't need to keep this a secret anymore.